is David Chen. You're on another edition of New York Weekly's the #1 podcast for 2020. That is Pananomics Podcast. And we're on our 83rd episode coming on in. And we're the fast track of fashion. But the one only Mabyani, who is the CEO and creative director of DaCosta Verde. How are you doing today?
Hi, David. I'm good. And you? Thank you for having me here today.
I am doing great. You are doing something that I think is so amazing. And I want to shout out our friends at Fashion Innovation for kind of putting this together and setting it up. You're doing something that's so eco-friendly and conscientious about the environment with clothing. Tell us a little bit about your product and some of the amazing things that you're doing.
Yeah, so our brand is called DaCosta Verde, which means in the Portuguese, my native language, from the Green Coast. And we design guilt-free lifestyle products to empower everybody to do good for themselves and the planet.
Wow. What made you think of something so amazing and so fulfilling for the world? And what was the reason behind all that?
Actually, it happened very intuitive. I didn't plan any of this. But looking back, I feel that sustainability and fashion always been in my life. Fashion for sure. Since at young age, I always been in love with fashion. And I grew up in a family of manufacturers. My parents, they have a manufacturing company for insulated bags. So I grew up inside a factory seeing how things are manufactured. And then from there, I also took some courses in fashion back in Brazil that had some sustainability themed behind the brand that now I know that is sustainability. And then my wake up call really happened in 2019 when I went back to school at FIT here in New York for International Trade and Marketing. And in my first semester, I went to take a class of corporate social responsibility. That was my wake-up call about what really is fashion and what is sustainability. So pretty much, fashion, it's like a big theater show that all the beauty is in front of the curtains. But when you go in the backstage, you have all those pieces lying around, which is where you see the ugly fashion. So that was really my wake-up call for fashion and sustainability. And then coming across the social part of the business, it really happened like natural because after starting the school in September 19, in December, I was blessed to go to the Amazon rainforest for a trip. I went to visit my family in Brazil, and then my boyfriend and I, we went to the Amazon rainforest, and that really changed my life. It was the most magical experience I ever had in my life, and I highly recommend if you have to go to a trip, go to the Amazon. So that's how DaCosta was really born, with my desire to build a fashion brand, but just not selling clothes, but with all those small experience that lead me to the place where I am today.
Wow, that's super amazing. I think the fact that you grew up in the environment and the business, saw the tricks of the trade, got to follow your dreams and going from there.
Yeah.
Well, what in the Amazon changed your life to really understand what sustainability was and how it was so necessary for the fashion world?
Yeah, I didn't want to go back. I was even questioning me, like maybe I stay here, I work in the hotel. It's just because you are really connected to nature. You really realize seeing that like gigantic forest and seeing that all the resources that we take comes from nature, because we did like a lot of hikings, we swim in a river, and feeling this connection really strong with one of the most biodiverse place on earth was just incredible. And seeing how people live there, like all those small communities, also was like a click for me to realize that yes, we need to help them because they are the ones that are keeping the rainforest standing. Everybody rely on everybody, so every single piece of this puzzle, it's connected. The rainforest, us, that are like all the citizens that don't live there, and also the people that live there. So that was my experience with the Amazon.
You know, in fashion, what people don't probably know is that roughly 70 to 80% of your clothing that you return gets discarded and wasted. It's way more expensive to clean it, process it, treat it, get it back out there, right? So this is why this is significant, right? What makes it different with your brand, or if they had to do a return of that magnitude, what you guys do differently from everybody else?
Well, at the moment, we have our program one for one. So after I went to the Amazon, I started researching to see what I could do for actually for the people. But I said like, well, let me research what is the most effective and less expensive since I'm starting right now. And tree planting, it is proof that is the most effective and least expensive um, way to mitigate climate change. And just not climate change, the environment part, but also the social part and the economical part with the people that live there. With my partners of SOS Amazonia, they explained to me how the tree planting works. So I decided not to go to a global um, organization because I really wanted to see how things work inside the Amazon. Because if you do like on a global level, you cannot really see like the whole logistics on how this logistics happen until you get the tree planting. So the economical part of helping people is that these people that are planting the trees, usually they don't plant only native trees, but also fruit trees where they can get to do like commercial, or they can sell, they can live from out of there. So this is our only, at the moment, our only mission related to how we're taking resources out of nature and giving back. But our goal until for 2030 is to have a closed loop, which means that you're going to get all our clothing, and when you don't want to wear or your wear is worn out or you're tired, you're going to return to us, and then we're going to repurpose this garment.
I love that. There are so many countries and so many places where they could use that 80%. So the fact that we're going to discard it, to me, is fiscally irresponsible, right? Environmentally irresponsible. But logically, it's just irresponsible. I mean, there's so many people that really need it. So I love that you thought that way and that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, just adding a little bit more of that, there is also a very good book where it's called the T-shirt Travelers, where there's this professor that she sees how a T-shirt is made and which places it goes. And the surprising thing at the end is that all the products that we don't use anymore or that are like throwaway, they're shipped to developing countries to be sold. So this is also, I think, is very sad, and we should find a way to end that. So my opinion would be the circular economy. It's very costly, so you need to be really prepared, and that's the reason we put that on our sustainability statement as a future goal, because until 2030 we have that space to build something that is going to be really consistent, not just for marketing purpose, but really doing the thing, right? Get hands on that.
Yeah, I don't think people really understand how global fashion really works. Even if you don't buy in China, the machines are all still made in China, right?
Yeah.
And then you gotta buy rolls, and then someone's cutting it, someone's sewing it, someone's printing. it's literally a global process. And you're right, it does, after taxes and tariffs, it goes back to those countries at a ridiculous price that's still above the cost out of there. And so the shipping and the CO2s and the emissions are just disastrous, right?
It is.
And what do you see right now, the fashion world? Why should the fashion world take the initiative into this climate control issue? And why was that your main purpose of doing that in your business?
How fashion? Sorry, I couldn't
I said,
hear. It was breaking up.
Oh, I said, why in the fashion world do you think that they should take responsibility for making the shift and change to climate change, to watch climate change and do what your company's been doing?
Well, it's not only related to climate change, right? It's also the social part. Like when I mentioned about the backstage, is really it's very scary when you get there and you see forced labor, child labor. There's many tiers, like we call four tier stage on the supply chain, and then by each tier, so that's what we're doing. So each tier we're checking our emissions and our responsibility. So for example, tier 4 is where the cotton is planted. So why do we use organic cotton? Because the way that it's harvested, the way that it's planted, there is toxics. No, there's no toxics. Why conventional no cotton? It's so harmful because of hundreds of toxics that those chemicals go to people that are planting, that it's gonna degrade the soil. So it's like a chain of events that the fashion world really needs to be taking accountability on that, because we're taking all the resources from there and we're not giving back. So the only way that we can replace that, it's finding ways that when you're building a brand, that just not build a brand with a sustainability marketing point of view. Sustainability should be part of a product feature, right? Sustainability should not just be like, well, we make sustainable clothing with organic cotton. No, this is a feature of your product. But what we are doing to minimize our impact, that it should be accountable. That's what we should look into that. And now there's many applications that are available for a small business, and we are starting to partner with one where we can calculate all the emissions by clothing. So for example, if I use this type of fabric, but the other fabric has less emissions because it's locally produced and I'm going to ship only one time to my customers, that's worth it than doing a piece that is, the fabric is going to come from Italy, that is going to be, all the parts are going to be put together in Asia, and then this piece is going to travel to the United States, and then the United States I'm going to ship globally. So there's many, it's like a small actions to make a big difference.
I love that. Every action creates, a reaction, and it keeps going. So I love that. One real thing I find really interesting on your site is you talk about 7 reasons why you should consider buying sustainable clothing, right? So give us some of the reasons that you think that's important for us to know as consumers on why that is important.
When you're buying sustainable clothing, usually you are supporting a small business. Most of the small business focused on sustainability, they're born with a purpose. And then by supporting them, you're providing a way for them to increase their research and development and doing better things. Another reason is that once you start buying sustainable clothing, you start being more conscious on what you wear. So you're not just buying trends. You're really focusing more in your personality rather than, oh, I need to wear this because it's super trendy. So that's one of like the reasons that I also wanted to go on fashion sustainability is creating pieces, timeless pieces that you can wear like 20 times, 60 times in different ways. But people are not, you really don't care. You're more like connected to yourself. You're so like confident on yourself that you don't really need to follow trends. So that's one of the ways that you're gonna start minimizing fast fashion.
I love that. I think that's important to be clear of and understand that that is a bigger issue, a bigger reason behind that. Did you always want to be in clothing? Is this something that you always in the fashion industry as a kid, or was this something new that came in later life in your calling?
No, always wanted and never had the courage to start it. Actually, in 2010, I was doing a certificate course in Brazil for how to build a fashion collection. And the funniest part is that at that time, like 11 years ago, I created this collection that was called Heal the World. It was a teenager collection that was inspired on that song with a little bit of touch of Balmain brand and and all the models that they were teenagers looking for the future of the planet. They were wearing like already gloves, hats, as a way that the sun was so hot and that we should take care of the planet before it would like end. So from that time I did, but I never thought about on sustainability per se. But from that time I really wanted to be in fashion, but I took other directions. Back in Brazil, I worked at a Fortune 500 company as an international trade analyst. And then after 2 years working there, I was like, enough. I need to take the leap of faith, and I moved to New York. And then my first experience in real fashion was also with a sustainable and amazing designer, Stella McCartney. I've been part of her team as an intern. I interned there for about a year, also not thinking about sustainability, but that's the reason I say sustainability always been part of me. But now I know what it really meant to me at that time.
I love that. And I heard something really interesting. You said you did this analysis. You worked at a big Fortune 500. For the audience, I want everyone to hear this. She goes to New York and she interns, keyword intern. She already had all this experience for Stella McCartney. Now, we know that time Stella was definitely on the rise, popping it up in the industry. But you humbly humbled yourself. And most people have been like, oh, no, 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 no. I did this in this industry. I did this and that industry. I went to this big company. I had this and this. You humbly went in and went from there, right? And it mattered to you to become a leader. What made you check your ego like that and really focus on something that important? Because I usually find the greater leaders do those type of sacrifices because they just recognize it's just better for them. But what was your reasoning?
Yeah, because we are always learning. We never stop learning. We always have something new to learn from someone. So we always need to be humble. Like in this conversation, I will learn a lot from you from your questions, how you're interested in fashion and sustainability, right? And then you're also learning from me. So I think that's the way that I see the world. We are always learning.
Yeah, that is such an amazing thing. I think a lot of people don't realize that when you start somewhere new, especially this generation, like we have all the Instagram likes and comments, and you're just kind of like, it just doesn't necessarily work that way, right? Or I've never done this before, but I want to come in, I want to intern, but I want you to pay me $70,000 a year, and I'm like, buddy, that's not an internship. That is a dream that you're probably not going to be getting, right? Do you see that typical as a problem with people that you're dealing with who don't necessarily understand the sacrifice that they need to become a CEO of a company?
Yes. Yeah, I think the new generation don't understand that. Like, I made a lot of sacrifices and still making as a startup to not just to like, I just don't want people applauding me. I want people seeing my mission. That's different. It's not just about putting all the lights on me. I'm just someone that I'm I'm just a speaker behind the brand, but I don't want to focus on myself. And most of the people, they want to just the spotlight. They don't want to work so hard. It's all about, oh, but how about this? How about that? Like, for me, it's just like, as an immigrant, like, we learn, like, well, if you're moving to a different country, you learn a language, you struggle, you do like, you work so hard, and that's what people don't understand. It's just work. When you start working and you show your work, people are gonna recognize that. You don't need it. You don't need anything else than work. There's no secret, right? But I think this generation is a little bit on the soft side.
I love that. In Taiwan, we use the word strawberries, and it's like it's fresh and pretty on the outside, and a little bit of pressure it squeezes. But you're right. I mean, when you do things, the greater good will recognize it. That is more significant than everyone sitting there patting you on the back, right? Because you don't need people back. Like if the results are there, the results are there. And I love that you discuss that. You know, I'm shifting a little bit more into these awesome bags that I'm seeing. They're fashion friendly, they're eco, they can be used multiple ways. What made you think of such a unique design, especially with bags in today's current environment?
Oh yeah, because you're there's three ways, right? Food waste, so you know the amount of food you're eating. Plastic bags, single use, and you have something fashion. I started actually the eco stylish lunch bags because my family manufactures for me. Um, and I know how it's made, who makes, which is my mom, which is pretty cool. And then this environmental part is it's about reusing. And again, this is going to be part of our project by 2030, where we're going to do the closed loop, where the bags also are going to be recycled the way and repurposed to become new bags. That's my dream. Never stop. Always making products, but not being linear, not just throwing away.
You know, I love that. I think that's super great. You're doing that. You know, you have a major event coming up, right? Tell us a little about this major event and how we can help out and involve and help the environment too.
Yeah, on September 5th, it's Amazon Rainforest Day, and I think a lot of people now know that Amazon is my major muse, my inspiration, and we're gonna be celebrating by a campaign that we are producing for with two a capsule collection of two T-shirts. One of the T-shirts is printed by a Brazilian designer, and the other one is more simplistic. But for every T-shirt we sell, we're going to be donating 5 trees to be planted in an Amazon rainforest in Brazil by SOS Amazonia, our partners. And our goal is to plant 5,000 trees. It's huge, 5,000 trees for us. Since last year, we planted 264. But my plan is for us, all of us, to reach this goal so we can minimize our negative impact, as well as help these communities that are super vulnerable in the Amazon rainforest right now due to COVID.
Wow, that's amazing. You know, I'll tell you what, the Pananomics team will pledge on buying, 20 bags, 20 shirts that you have. So that's at least 100 trees right there.
Yeah.
We're already pledging it. I'm going to do it. I'll pledge it here now, for all entire people that are listening for Pananomics.
Amazing.
If anyone else is there,
Thank you.
there's 4,900 trees left.
Yeah.
But heck, you can do that and help out.
We're going to get there.
From there. That's super amazing. Where can people follow you on social media and your company so they can see this amazing process?
Yeah, and just to add, we're gonna be once we have all the trees. Usually it's during flood season that the planting occurs. So we're gonna do videos, and we're gonna have a geotag location where in the Amazon those trees are planted. So you guys are gonna be able to check that like firsthand. You guys can follow us on Instagram, DaCosta Verde, from the Green Coast. Should I spell it? I don't know.
No,
Well,
we'll have it underneath for you. But you're
yeah,
awesome. Really.
DaCosta Verde, and then we're gonna have everything there. Our campaign is gonna start on the 30th, so stay tuned. We're building like amazing campaign for all of you and for our nature.
I love it. What an amazing thing. So you have us committed. We'll get the message
Thank you,
out as
David.
well. No, thank you for doing such an amazing thing. It's such an impactful and great experience. I'd love to have you come back and tell us a little bit afterwards. Tell us what happened to
Yes,
the tools and going from there. And
definitely.
sustainability part of it. It's super amazing. Um, you know, thank you for everything you've given us. I want to ask you one last piece of advice. You're a very powerful woman CEO who focuses on very large social impact issues, right?
Hmm.
You have a very interesting point of view. If there's one piece of advice that you can give anybody out there to follow their dreams, what would that advice be?
So I believe that we have three homes, right? Our body, our mind, and our planet, and we should take care of the three of them.
Wow.
Taking care of the three of them, we're gonna be in peace with ourselves and with our planet.
I love that. That is such an impactful and powerful and positive thing. For Mabyani, CEO of the DaCosta Verde, and David Chen and Panonomics crew, shout out to our friends at Fashion Innovation again for setting this up. You have another edition of Panonomics Podcast, New York Weekly's #1 podcast for 2020. We'll see you soon, and don't forget to get your shirt. We'll have more to our link on the bottom soon. Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you, David.